I began to meditate on it and think about it. But the first line, it said, when Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, no man can come to the Father through me. He was not demanding worship. He was not demanding an exclusive statement that made Christianity or faith in him the only way to experience God. But what he was demanding, what he was preaching or trying to convey was that his lifestyle is the example. And there's no other example that he was telling his disciples. There's no other way besides what I've shown you where you'll be able to see what he had been preaching to them about his Father. And the language he used was more Abba, his daddy. He was always, for 3 years, his disciples would hear him talk about my daddy. I'm doing what I see my daddy doing, which was a highly evolved concept of deity. No one had ever referred to deity as their daddy in such an intimate language. So he had been using 3 years of language and verbiage to describe his relationship with deity or his connection with the divine as a relationship with his daddy. So at the end of these 3 years, after he told his disciples he was leaving, he was going away, and they said, where are you going? He told them, you know where I'm going, you know the way. And so one of them said, just show us the Father, that's all. Just show us who your daddy is, and you could go wherever you want to go. It was Thomas who said, I'm just tired of hearing about this being, and you haven't revealed him to us yet. And he says, if you've seen me, if you recognize my lifestyle for these past 3 years, if you've seen the way I've interacted with beings, if you've seen the way I've interacted with you, if you've seen the way I've approached the difficulties of life, if you've seen all of that and you begin to emulate that, you too will see exactly what I'm seeing. And you too will walk into that divine. So we used the illustration, or last week I used the illustration of Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, as that perfect illustration of what that lifestyle looks like. It looks like a being who is completely surrendered to a higher and greater power, and they allow that higher and greater power to lead them. And when they lead them, when you're led by a higher and greater power, the first sense of assurance and this first sense of peace that you have is this idea that you shall not want. And we went into detail about how important it is to put yourself in alignment of not wanting anything, because when you're not wanting anything, you're free to receive everything that you need. And it is our very wants that we've all learned through studying the law of attraction that block stuff from coming to us. Because whenever you get in a state of I want, or I need, or I have, all you're going to manifest is more of the experience of what? Wanting or needing it. So the more you want something, or you're in that energy of wanting it, what you're manifesting and the signal you're sending out to the universe is to give you more of the experience of wanting more money or wanting more health. I had a friend, and she kept saying, I have to lose weight. I have to lose weight. I said, if you keep saying you have to lose weight, the universe is going to keep giving you an experience where you're going to keep saying, I have to lose weight. So it's the same thing. I have to have more money. I have to get a job. And the universe is going to send you an experience and create a reality for you where you're going to have to need to get a job. So it's about using the right words, and it's not so much words as much as it is your being and your presence. So that's one of the huge benefits of when you can allow yourself to be led by a power that is greater and higher than yourselves. And when you can say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. And in that state. And that comes through a sense of surrender. So we talked about that. This week, I want to go more into that sense of surrender and that experience. When it comes to life, one of the core needs after having what we want, or what is it that we most want? Because going back to Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, comma, and then the next few lines of that Psalms 23 go into, well, what is it that we most want? And what we most want is love and light. Right now, and I say this at the Raise Your Vibration seminar, none of us truly, maybe some of us, don't want $1 million for the sake of having $1 million to look at in our phone or in our bank account. It's not that I don't want millions of dollars just so I can say I have millions of dollars. I want millions of dollars because of what I believe I can only experience by having millions of dollars. I want to be able to experience freedom. I want to experience time. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. I want to buy all the luxury cars and sports cars I have because I feel like it's going to give me a sense of excitement. It's going to give me a sense of life. And it's going to make me feel alive. It's not, and so therefore, it's not that I want the $1 million for $1 million's sake, but I want what I feel like I can only have and experience with $1 million. Same thing with our ideal soulmates. For those who are single, we want our ideal soulmate not for the sake of having an ideal soulmate, but it's because it's something that we desire, that we feel like we can only experience by having the ideal soulmate. And what I feel like that is embodied in the actuality of experiencing love and light simultaneously inside ourselves. It's an emotional fulfillment. So that's why that next line of Psalms 23, it goes into, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures, and he leadeth me beside the still waters. So what I want to talk about tonight this evening is about those waters, is that love and light. That love and that light are represented by that green pastures and those still waters. Because this is truly all that we really need in our life. Whenever a person is sick and they are struggling with this disease, and you want to pray for healing, or you want to be able to give them some sense of miracle magic, the primary thing that you need to give that person, if they're plagued with any type of disease, is what? It's peace. It's peace. Your primary purpose is to send them peace. Because if they have a dis-ease, what is missing is peace. And that peace may not necessarily mean the removal of that dis-ease, but their state. Take cancer. Most metaphysical and health coaches and health practitioners say cancer is a manifestation of what? How many of y'all have heard this already? Anger. They say it's anger. And what's the first thing that happens when a person gets diagnosed with cancer? They become angry. And now we're fighting it. And now guess what? And then it's unfortunately, but you hear people who get diagnosed with cancer and they were healthy when they went to the doctor, and then the doctor said they had cancer, and then they have a few weeks to live, and now it's like they get sick faster because they're fighting it and they're angry over it. But the first thing that person needs more of is peace. If you can pray for peace for them so they can first come to a state of acceptance and a state of comfort, they'll have more power and they'll have more ability to get their body in a state of healing. If you get a cold, if you get any type of sickness, you need to first get yourself in a state of peace and calmness. And so that's why that first line says green pastures. And that next line says still waters, because that waters represents our eternal emotional fulfillment. Because ultimately that's what we all are striving for right now. At this age, at this stage on the planet, none of us are fighting like our ancestors did for thousands and thousands of years on the earth. They were waking up every day fighting for their existence, okay? They didn't know how they were going to make it through that day. There were cultures and tribes, and there still are indigenous tribes that I heard in my archaeology class. They loathed at the rising of the sun because here's another day they got to fight for their existence. And for hundreds and thousands of years, this was everyone's struggle. How will we survive this day? How will we prevent ourselves from being eaten by a wild animal? How will we survive another winter? Will we have fur? Will our reserves of food last us to another winter? Everybody was just crazy about the struggle for existence historically on the earth. It's only in the past few thousands of years, maybe less than that our struggle is not so much for our existence. None of us are concerned about how to survive this winter. That's not even in our consciousness. Our struggle is for our standard of living. We want to be comfortable. Our thing is, we don't want to have an uncomfortable winter. We don't want to go through this winter alone. We don't want to go through the next 5 years of not being able to achieve our dreams, our material obsessions, stuff like that. Not about our existence, but it's something emotional. It's our comfort. We want to be fulfilled in here inside. We don't want to be agitated. We don't want any emotional disturbance. We want to be stress and drama free in the inside. We want that happiness in the inside. And this is represented by the still water. Because that sheep is going to be led to a place where they can easily and gently get their inner needs met. And this is what it's about for us today. It's our inner needs that we're trying to meet. Everything we want external, we're trying to seek to get our inner need met. We want to feel excited and alive, so we want to buy this new vehicle. We want to feel valued and loved, so we want to have a good image, so we want to buy things so we can look nice. We want that ideal soulmate so we can feel that intimacy and that those good feelings and that comfort of having that special someone to share our life with. We want our children to be successful so we can feel good and feel like we've done what we've done to do on our earth. But this is all internal need represented by that water. And so the idea of the Lord is my shepherd is this idea that we're going to be led. You will have your inner needs met. That emotional comfort. It's not like the universe is going to not fulfill them to you, but it wants to kind of get your attention off of the external things and or that you're seeking, and recognize, hey, if you follow me, let me lead you on this path, I can lead you to some still waters. I can get those emotional needs met through this water. My perfect illustration is this story illustrated in the Gospel of John. John chapter 4, starting at verse 4. And it's historically called the Lady at the Well. How many of y'all familiar with this story about the Lady at the Well? All right. So if you know this story, it's a very interesting story. I like this story a lot because I feel like it's talking about, in my mind, this lady, this woman represents the soul. The word soul in Greek is psyche. It's a feminine word. And it's also where we get psychology from, or psychic. It's dealing with the soul. And ancients always saw the soul as feminine. Always saw the soul as feminine. As if you go back and you read even scriptures in the Old Testament, it always referring to the soul as a her or seeing her. That's why the church is called the what of Christ, the bride of Christ, because we represent that feminine aspect, and Christ represents, the Christ consciousness represents the masculine part, and our soul, we are represented as feminine. So this is a story of a woman who represents us, our soul, who is seeking that inner fulfillment. She's seeking that still waters. And the story goes that Jesus had to go through Samaria. He was trying to take a shortcut. Him and his disciples, they was on the journey. They were traveling missionaries, preaching and healing people all over the land. But they were on a run from the Jews in Jerusalem. So they were trying to make it to the retreat. So they wanted to go a shortcut. Now, at this, the context here at this time frame, the Jews and the Samaritans originally came out of the same tribe of people, okay? The Samaritans in the north, the Jews are more southern, closer, going back into Arabia. But the Samaritans, they were more what the more preserved Jews felt like were diluted. They had let other cultures come in. They had kind of said, okay, we can pick up this, we'll pick up this. They didn't stick to the tenets of the Jewish faith as the Jews did in Judah, in the land of Judah. They weren't following the law of Moses and those Old Testaments to the T like the Jews were. So therefore the Jews saw these Sumerian Jews as unclean because they would practice other gods. They didn't just exclusively practice Yahweh. They didn't have a temple. They didn't believe in going to a temple. They saw themselves as descendants of Moses, Abraham, and Jacob, but they were a little bit more lax. You know, they didn't feel like you had to take that serious. Almost versus if you have like a very liberal Christian versus very conservative Christian. Maybe the holiness of the Pentecost. You know, some holiness traditions don't believe in women wearing makeup or dresses, and so they kind of have this tendency to look at other Christians of the same faith as less serious or not really Christians or Jehovah's Witness. But for the Jews, it was very, 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 very serious. These people were to be avoided at all costs. It was very hostile. So Jesus told his disciples, hey, this is what we'll do. We can make it, we can follow our plan, we'll just cut through Samaria. And they were thinking, we're not going to go through Samaria. Like, are you out of your mind? But they go through Samaria for time's sake. And the passage in John started off saying they had to go through Samaria. So they go through Samaria, they've been traveling for 2 to 3 hours, they're hungry. Jesus hungry, Jesus thirsty. So they stop at a rest stop on the path, which is a well. There's a well there. All wells was associated with roadside travel at this time. You stop by this well, you could get your water, feed your cows and feed yourself. So Jesus is tired. He has been walking, he has been healing people. So he sends his disciples into the town to go find food, go bring back bread or whatever. And he says, I'm going to stay here and rest, get some quiet time. So he's here at this well and he's thirsty, but he realizes he don't have anything to drink. He stays calm. Here comes a lady, a Samaritan woman. She comes, she has her bucket. And so Jesus says, good. Here comes somebody can ask her for a drink. Now, if you were a person of any type, if you were a man and you had any type of status, any type of prestige, especially if you were just a man in general, on top of you did not speak to a woman. You did not address a woman. You would talk to her husband or you would talk to her master, but you did not have one-on-one conversation with anybody besides your mother and your wife. That was it. You did not talk to another woman. So Jesus sees this woman, he says, hey, give me a drink. And so she is shocked. She can't believe this man is asking her for some water. She's very shocked. And she could tell by his accent, she could tell by his dress, she knew he was a Jew and she knew what type of Jew he was. So she says, this is interesting. She says, why do you ask me for a drink? And I am a Samaritan woman and you are a Jew. And he says, well, first of all, if you knew who this was that was asking for a drink, you would ask me for a drink and I would give you living water and you would never thirst again. So she says, Now, this is interesting about this passage, and I hope I'm not trying to shatter any of y'all beliefs. But this is a woman who's single, she's by herself, and it's kind of late in the evening. And there's a man telling her about some water and what he could give her. Now, where do you think her mind is going? He is a pimp. So she says this well is deep and you don't have anything to draw from. And she has this light conversation. And he says, well, the water I can give you, and they're going on and on and on, which eventually she says, tell me, where can I get this living water from? Are you greater than our grandfather Jacob, who gave this well and he fed all his animals with this? And she says, he says, yeah. And now she's really entertaining. And like I said, the culture she came from, it's not that she was a bad woman, but she just wasn't as strict. Her morals may have been a little lax, relaxed. And I'm sure Jesus was an attractive man alone. So she's flirting, having this conversation. So then he pulls it in and she says, where can I get this water? Tell me more about this. And he says, woman, he looks at her in the eye and says, go get your husband. And now she recognized, this is not that type of conversation. So now she says, I guess she stumbles upon it and she's trying to rebound and she says, I don't have a husband. And he said, you're right, you don't have a husband. And in the gospel it says, he says, you've had 5 husbands and that one that you have now is not your husband. And then she said, you must be a prophet. You must be some type of psychic man. You dead on, you dead right, So she says, now they were having this conversation. Jesus was about to free her mind. He was able to give her an experience. At that moment, he was ready to impart something so magical, so experimental in her. He was going to introduce her to the love and light, what she had been craving all her life. The thing she wanted all her life is right here, right now for her to experience. Just through this exchange with this cosmic being who is in front of her, who's embodying this. Just the conversation with her is ready to transform her life. And now she switches the conversation. And now she starts talking about theology and doctrine. Since you're a prophet, answer this question for me. Wait a second. Here's your chance to experience something divine. And this is what happens. Right when we're in the middle of going through a breakthrough, right when we're in the middle about to experience something magical, some sense of salvation, some sense of liberation, we want to stop and we want our analytical mind to begin to come in and question. We want to start talking about facts. We want to start talking about things. We want to start talking about religion and doctrine and theology. But wait a second. Who is this? There's people who are in pain and suffering. They come and they see me downtown, and I give them a little word, and I say, hey, you want to talk to me? You got something in your mind? They do, and they say, I don't know about this, and I share a little something. You want to talk about your family or your child? And they say, yes. And then they say, yes, I need to talk to you. And they say, wait, is this of God? Or why are you doing this for? This can't be right. Or my church said this, or my pastor said this, or the Bible said this. But look, now, I was just about to give you some words. And not saying I had the words of life, but I was going to share something with them really magical, really powerful that could free them, but then they had to go and take it wait. So this is what this lady is doing. So she says, oh, well, never mind. I know you said you had this in morning, but I got a question for you. You Jews say this. Y'all say that we ain't right, and we say y'all ain't right, and I want to know, where should we worship at? Do you say we should worship in the mountain, or should we worship in the temple? And he said, you know what? I'm going to tell you the truth. The Father is not seeking any type of worshipers worship here in the mountain. He said there's an hour coming and the time is now that the type of worshipers that the Father is seeking worship in spirit and in truth. For the Father is spirit, and those who worship must worship spirit and in truth. And then she says, okay, so now she's tired. This conversation has kind of like, it didn't go the way she wanted. This isn't what she thought it was going to be. She was really excited. Now it's not. And now he doesn't really entertain her religious questions. So now she finishes. So she says, well, I know somebody's coming. The Messiah is coming, and he'll teach us all things. And so he says, well, lady, believe it or not, I am that being for you. And that's how that kind of story goes. And then the disciples, his boys, appear back, and they see him talking to this woman. And now they're like, okay, this man is, and poor Judas, I'm sure Judas is there. Judas has already questioned Jesus about 2 years earlier after a lot of things didn't go right. So now he's like, I told y'all he want the real deal. Like, look at him talking to that woman. But they don't know what they're talking about. But she's very excited. That's kind of the end of the story. She runs back and she leaves her bucket. She runs to the town. She tells everybody, yo, I saw this man. He told me this. He said this. And the whole town go and hear Jesus talk at this well. And they all say, this man has the words of life. Something is stirred up in us. Something is transformed by hearing him. And then his disciples, after all this happened, his disciples say, Jesus, you need to eat. You need to eat. You need to eat. And he says, I have food that y'all know nothing about. And they says, who brought him some food? Did that lady give him some food? Where did he get some food from? And he says, my food is to do the work of the one who sent me. So what I love, the illustration about that story is we see that two things are illustrated right here. That love and light, I like the 5 husbands. I'm going to play on that because usually the number 5, especially in the tarot, represents change and transformation. Did you know that the Chinese symbol for go or the Chinese symbol for action looks like our 5? So 5 is the number of repentance. 5 is the number of change. One time when I was beginning to study numerology, I was working in an apartment complex, and I was overseeing a team of college kids, and I told these college students, I keep seeing 5 everywhere, and I kept telling them, they say, what does that mean? I told them what 5 mean. They was like, really? And the joke had always been going that I shouldn't be working there. I need to leave. I should leave. I was like, y'all, I keep seeing 5. I think this is a sign for me to leave. Like, I need to look for another job. And I go to work, I leave, I go to lunch, I take a lunch break. And when I come back, I leave my coat there, because it was kind of warm. And I come back and I open up my drawers, and they had put 5. They had took the number 5 and wrote it on piece of papers and put it and stuffed them all in my drawer, my desk drawer, and in my coats, in my everything. They had hid this number 5 everywhere. For weeks, I was doing stuff, seeing this number 5. And I said, this is funny, but they was actually onto something. I did need to leave. But that 5 always represents change, transformation. And what I like about this story is because that woman illustrates us. She illustrates us seeking over and over and over and over again something external, something created that we're seeking to get that love and light from instead of going inside ourselves. Why Jesus told her, the Father is spirit, and those who worship must worship in spirit and in truth. And the word, how I interpret worship, the definition of worship is meditative thinking. And that meditative thinking on something higher and something external, something greater than yourself, or God or deity or divine or your higher self, it really does begin to fill you up. You really begin to get yourself in a state where your attention and your awareness go in your inside and fill you up from the inside out. And now, whatever happens externally, the external stuff, it's not that we weren't designed to enjoy the things of creation. But when we seek the things of creation to feel something that only we can get from a meditative, reflective experience of the Creator, or that which is eternal, or that which is real, we are going to not ever be filled up. And it's going to take about 5 experiences before we finally realize it. So she was at this point where she was just like, I've given up. She's not even looking anymore. She just admits, yeah, he ain't it either. It ain't, but I'm tired of searching. I give it up now. So that's us. We wanted this really badly. We want this really badly. And everything gives us this sense of, that's what I need. If I can only get this, this is going to fulfill this inner longing. If I can only get that, this is going to fulfill that inner longing. And if I can get that, and we get it. And then it's like, damn, why am I still so unhappy? Why am I still so miserable? People are the best objects. It's always people. People can make you feel good. I ain't gonna front, But I can tell you this, people are going to disappoint you. People are going to let you down. You can lose people. And it's not that God doesn't want us to enjoy created things, or it's not that the universe doesn't want us to enjoy these created things. But like I said, if you are bypassing the experience of the divine and you're trying to seek those things from created things, you are going to constantly be let down over and over and over again. But you can enjoy the created thing so much better when you have first been filled in the inside. And now when that person comes along, now when that $1 million come along, now when all those things come along, you can truly enjoy it. In Powers versus Force, the levels of consciousness, David Hawkins says that, first of all, the average level of consciousness that he measures is at 200. And he says most people are at between 180, 170, 180. But he said it's not until the level of consciousness that he calibrates with the number at 250 that humans can enjoy life and find satisfaction. Because up under that, whatever you get, you're going to fear of losing it. You're going to be trying to control it. You're going to be afraid that it can be lost, it can be taken from you, and you'll never, ever, ever be able to truly enjoy it. If some of y'all soulmate or ideal perfect person came in right now, you'll be happy for a few hours and then you'll be so afraid, what if this person doesn't like me? What if they leave? What if I lose it? If you were to win the lottery right now, you'd be panicking about all the people that's trying to harass you to get it, how you can save this money. So you won't even be able to enjoy all the things you want until you first can find that in the inside. And that inside comes through what I say is worship. But when I say it's worship, how I have experienced worship to be is truly meditative, what I call meditative thinking. It's illustrated by this phrase and definition I heard, beautiful phrase I heard for a soulmate. I heard a definition of a soulmate, and let me see if I can find it so I don't want to mess it up. But this definition of a soulmate said, a soulmate is someone who says, every detail of your life will be witnessed and remembered by me. That's beautiful, isn't it? And so it's this idea that there's someone watching your life. And when you're in love, you do watch that person. You just enjoy just watching whatever they're doing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just like, the way they pick their nose. I've never seen anyone pick their nose so sexy. Or whatever it may be. It's just watching. But you're doing it in a very meditative thinking kind of way, and you can be able to see all types of stuff that they can't even see about themselves. And you begin to really know that person better than they know themselves. And if we can do that same thing with the divine, this is what meditative thinking is. And what happens, you're going to recognize and you'll see very, 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 very clear, there is some higher and greater power that is watching me. Something is happening here. If you begin to journal, if you begin to have quiet times, if you begin to pray and ask God for stuff, if you begin to pray and just speak to the divine, what you're going to begin to recognize over time is that, wow, something heard me. There is something really actively engaged in my life. It's just meditative thinking on this. It's not so much in a feeling. It's not so much in an action. It's more so of a meditative thinking. This can be done waking up in the morning. This can be done actually throughout your entire single day. But the more you do this, the more your mind's going to become occupied with something that is eternal. And what I mean by eternal is it's not a fleeting feeling. It's not a fleeting emotion, but it's a thought that is real. You're going to begin to recognize the hidden presence behind everything. There's this hidden presence. There's this formless substance that's animating everything in creation. And when you begin to think and reflect on that, you are naturally, like anybody you spend time with, you're going to catch feelings for them. It happens. You're going to begin to catch feelings for them. Not only are you going to catch feelings for them, you're going to begin to just fall in love with, and you're going to see them in everything. Whether it is a Michael Jackson song, whether it's a Taylor Swift song, whether it's a fictional book, whether it's the Bible, whatever it is, you are going to be able to see this eternal presence. Whatever you may call it. You may call it daddy like Jesus. You may call it the universe. You may call it the mother, father, God. You may call it your higher self, your guardian angels. But whatever it is going to be something divine and something higher and greater than yourself. And you're going to begin to develop a relationship with it. You're going to be able to feel it. You will fall in love with it. And what's going to happen is it is going to begin to, this eternal thing is going to be able to fill you up in the inside with this love and light. And slowly but surely, the things of creation are not going to be that significant to you. It's not that you won't use them. You'll still have your human body needs for companionship. You'll still need food. You'll still need community. You'll still need to have fun. But now you can have even more fun. Because now you can be free to dance wherever you want to dance because you don't care who's looking at you. Now you can begin to be free to talk how you want to talk. Now you can be free to go out on this date with somebody that's really, really super hot because you don't care if they play you or they're not trying to play you or can they lose you, whatever. It don't matter. I've heard people say stuff like, I don't want anybody super attractive because then I got to be jealous. And I get that. I've heard that a lot. I don't know if y'all ever heard anybody say anything like that. Like, I don't want anybody attractive because then I'll be jealous. I'd rather have somebody nobody else want. Well, I get that, but it sounds silly. But the idea is this person is scared. They're afraid. And so what happens when you get to live that love and light lifestyle and you're happy from the inside, it doesn't matter. You're going to go after what your heart desires. And you're not going to be afraid of losing it. You're not going to be afraid that, well, I don't want to buy that because then how will I be able to pay for it? You'll be like, well, if I lose it, I'll lose it. But I'm going to go there. And this is like, it's not that we detach ourselves and quit wanting to do anything in the physical world. No. We get to enjoy the physical world even more. So this is why Jesus illustrated by saying, I come today may have a life, but have it more abundantly. And that abundant life doesn't mean a material possessions, all of us living like kings and queens, but it's all of us being able to enjoy life at a higher level because now we're not relying on anything external to give us any sense of love and light. It's coming from us in the inside first, and now it's allowing us to make everything else feel even magical. All we really need is just each other. We can have a good time. And we can just be on the park. I've heard Eckhart Tolle who wrote The Power of Now. Anybody read The Power of Now? He talks about when he really was in that power now, felt that love and light, he could sit on a park bench for days and be in this high state of joy, just watching people, and not needing it. But he also talks about how people can go to work and do their work now because they're not worried about not needing anything. And so my encouragement to every last one of y'all is right now, whatever you feel like you most need, you have access to it right now. Because what you most need, if you begin to ask yourself, what is it I really, really, really want? And yes, your body may have its needs for mating or companionship, or you may fear not having physical needs met, but deep down inside, what you really want more than anything is to experience this love and light from some eternal higher power. And you can begin to experience it right now, just meditative thinking. You begin to experience it right now by just acknowledging the awareness of, this is what I mostly desire. This is what it feels like to crave and want things. And it's a process. It's not going to happen. But the reality is, it is right here for us right now. You don't have to wait to get your $1 million. You don't have to wait to have your dream job or to be in that position to experience it. You really can experience it right here and right now. And the more you begin to do it, it becomes contagious. It's like Jesus told that lady, it becomes a living well springing up in the inside from you. And you'll never, ever need to come back to this well again. And when that happens, you'll never have to see another person or thing as something that you're going to have to get your needs met from. But you can be excited to see them, and you can be okay when they leave, whether it's a person, thing, or whatever it is. And that's all available to us. And the other, finish that up, is when we begin to experience that love and light, it demands us to share it. We can't help but to share it. And now when we get it, it becomes contagious. Because people are going to be able to say, I just like your presence. And that leads me to, I'm going to close with that second phrase I hear is that the laws of God are revealed by creation. You can study a tree, you can study the cycles, and you can understand the laws of the universe. This is true. You can this is the laws of the universe. But the love and light of God or the universe is only seen and experienced through coming in contact with other people who are embodying that love and light lifestyle. When you're in their presence, you're going to begin to see an illustration of it. It's going to trigger it in you, and it's going to make you long for it. It's contagious. It raises your vibration. And when you raise your vibration, you are going to begin to raise the vibration of everybody that comes in contact with, that your eyes glance at. I'm telling you, this is very true. You just glance at people, and their vibration begins to change and raise. They can deny it or they can receive it. And this is how that love and light lifestyle begins to transform everything. Because you're putting this energy, you're putting your joy, you're putting this love and light into everything you do, every interaction you have. And it's a contagious effect. And then when you're doing that work and you're bringing love and light to other people, you have a double need met. And this is why Jesus told his disciples, I have my food. I've done my food. My food is to do the work of the one who sent me. And when we get into this, it's going to transform our lives. It's already transforming your lives. You've already tasted of it. And it's continuing to go on and on and on. So the purpose of community, the purpose of the group is to help share these ideas. But yet, it's very personal, it's very private. Because Tay's relationship with the divine, eternal, is very different from mine. Very, very different. And she may never, ever be able to verbalize it all the days of her life, what she experienced between her and divine. She may never have the words to express it. Same thing with Jackie. Same thing with Bern. It's very, 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 very personal. But the goal is the same, and that is that we live from the inside out. So we can come together and encourage each other, go into your inside. I don't know what your relationship is with the divine. I don't know how you verbalize your faith or what it is, but I can support you in helping you go there in it. And that's why community, that's why coming together is important. Listen to our intuition, following that, building that up, learning techniques to raise vibration. It's all about living from within and experiencing that love and light from within, and then sharing it with others. All right. Any questions or comments about the love and light lifestyle? I went over by 8 minutes.